everyone, I'm going to take you through a basic SEIS 101, kind of to go through the home page and figure out where all of the forms are found. So let's get started. Grab some snacks, grab some water. Here we go. So this is betaseis.org. This is where you're going to go and do your login. I'm using a district demo site, but if you click on this, this is where your name should be and what kind of access that you have. This is your home page here, and anytime you click on the little house, this is what you'll see. So this is up here is any SEIS news that you have. Down here will be where you want to pay more attention, because this is our local news that Andrea Fulford, our SEIS administrator at South Whittier, she will be updating that. So make sure you kind of look at that for any new updates. As I scroll down, these are your requests that you make when you add a student, when you exit a student, if you change any records to a student, if you have students that are eligible and who you're providing services to. This shows you the students that did not qualify and are not providing services, and this is any address changes that occur. Right here, this little box here shows you the amount of students that you have and how many that are pending as far as for initial IEPs that you're testing and in the process of doing so before you find them eligible. You don't want to have that many pending IEPs because that means you have not affirmed them. So make sure that you do not have a large number of pending IEPs in contrast to your eligible. Again, this is a demo site, so it's going to look a little bit different. The follow-ups as far as how many unaffirmed IEPs that you have, how many unaffirmed amendments, and how many unsigned IEPs. So these unaffirmed IEPs and unaffirmed amendments, those should be done within 7 days. So make sure that you get that done within 7 days of holding the actual IEP. For your unsigned IEP, sometimes that does occur, like you have an IEP meeting and your parent wants to take home the IEP to peruse it a little bit further, and they'll sign it later. That will let you know that you still have some IEPs that need looking at, and make sure that parent signatures happen. Here are your meeting alerts. Now, it does not email you or anything, or no bells or whistles goes off to tell you these things, but if you look here, this is what it'll tell you. So your next annual within 30 days, it's coming up. This is how many are past due, and this is how many total you have. Again, you don't want any that are past due, because that means you're out of compliance. Your next try that comes up within 75 days of the try date will be here. Any initial evaluations that you're in the middle of processing and testing will be here, and any 30-day transfers that come out of WACSEP, our local SELPA area, are here. We don't have to worry about these two in South Whittier because of the infant. We do not address that as far as in our district, and if we do, I'm not aware of it. And then the SEIS integration, that's something that is coming. So SEIS integration is where SEIS and ARIES will talk, and there will be some information that's coming further. So when I move back up to after my home page, when I click on students and student IEPs and caseload, this gives me an idea of how many students I have. So if I click on student IEPs, this gives me all of my students in alphabetical order. I can search for them on my filter here, and then that way I can isolate it and I don't have a huge amount of students to scroll down and look for. If I go to students and caseload, what I'll find is that these are my students on my caseload, and sometimes when we have different case managers, we need to look them up separately. So then I could go by, if I click here, the teacher type, like who is, what type of teacher are they RSP, are they SLPs, and the last name. So then I can also do searches, and this is where you're going to be doing your bulk printing, which I sent out a step-by-step how to do for you on maybe a couple days ago. If I have time, I'll make another video on how to bulk print IEPs at a glance and progress reports, because those are the things that you're going to be bulk printing the most. As far as reports, these are some things that are kind of important. Your attendance register, that's what Sandy would like turned in at the end of the month or the beginning of the month, where mostly for RSP teachers, that you can print out an attendance register and keep track of minutes. We don't have to worry so much about the other reports because they really don't apply to us. If you want to go to goals, this is where you would search your goal banks in SEIS. SEIS has a tremendous amount of goal banks inside of it, but I do want to caution people that these goal banks aren't always updated and they are not always accurate. So be very mindful when you're choosing certain goal banks because we don't necessarily it's not necessarily updated. The ones that we use the most in mild to mod arenas are English Language Arts for the Common Core and Math for the Common Core. Sometimes statewide teacher-generated goals they have, and then you also have a goal bank that is your own. You can create your own goals and keep track of them in your own goal bank. Reference is the document library. This is where you will find all the different types of state forms in English and in Spanish and parent rights. So these are the state forms that you will find that we have in SEIS, but sometimes we can't get online and we need to be able to access them. Or we won't be able to fill them out. So these are basically electronic copies of each of the pages, plus sometimes we have inside of here some different cut and paste or different types of samples. So we look at, these are all samples that are in documents that are coming from the state. And then here are some Word docs that are in English and Word documents that are in Spanish. So when you go to administration, that's more management as far as like how you manage your fields. I mean, we can do custom fields, but I've never used this area. That's something that I can follow up on what you may need it for, and I'll talk to Andrea about that. The Help Center. This is where you can contact the Help Center directly from SEIS, the people at SEIS. They have a help desk, they have training videos, they have frequently asked questions. So if you choose to go to these things, they can give you some help. And generally, the help desk usually tries to get back to you within 24 hours. They're actually pretty good about doing that. Okay. Here is your print queue, which means everything that needs to be printed will line up in here. Here is where we have messages. That's where within SEIS you can email each other, but many of us don't use that. And here is your recycle bin. If you click on the recycle bin, some things that might come up, it saves some of our documents that we trash. I think it's 72 hours. So then that way you have, it's not like totally gone forever, but just be mindful. I believe it's 72 hours that it exists in the recycle bin. And here's your log out button. Okay, so that is SEIS 101 at a glance. And one of my future videos, I will be going over the different forms in detail.